how seniors are quietly reinventing themselves in retirement, and why it's never too late. They say life slows down after retirement. They say it's the beginning of the end, a time for shrinking dreams, quiet resignation, and simply watching the world go by. But they have it wrong. The truth, as it's unfolding in thousands of lives right now, is far more exciting and far more powerful. Look closely enough and you'll see it. A quiet revolution stirring among those in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. It's not loud or flashy. There are no headlines, no breaking news alerts. But it's happening. In small towns, in big cities, in quiet corners where seniors are refusing to disappear. Instead, they are doing something far more radical. They are reinventing themselves, not out of rebellion, not because they have something to prove. They're doing it because deep inside, they know that life doesn't come with a clock that chimes, too late. They understand something many forget, that purpose doesn't retire when you do, and the human spirit doesn't wither with age. It sharpens, deepens, and, if we allow it, soars. I'm not here to talk about aging gracefully or slowing down gently. I'm here to share with you the unfolding truth that many are living but few are talking about. After decades of raising families, building careers, and caring for others, seniors are finally turning their attention inward, asking themselves, what else is possible? And they're finding out that the answer is almost anything. Maybe you've caught glimpses of this shift, the 70-year-old learning to paint for the first time, the retired accountant who now teaches yoga, the grandmother who picked up a camera and found a new career in photography. These aren't isolated stories. They're signals. They tell us that the later chapters of life are not about diminishing returns, but about unexpected awakenings. It's tempting to think reinvention belongs to the young, to the bright-eyed dreamers in their 20s, or the fearless adventurers in their 30s. But the secret that more and more seniors are discovering is this. Age brings with it an incredible gift, not just wisdom, but the freedom to redefine who you are without the heavy burden of proving yourself to anyone. This is not a call to action for adrenaline-fueled leaps of faith or headline-grabbing stunts. It's an invitation to something much quieter, much richer, a chance to listen to the small, insistent voice inside that whispers, "There's still more." A chance to remember that life isn't measured by the number of birthdays you've celebrated, but by the number of times you've dared to begin again. In the moments ahead, we'll step into the stories, the science, and the soul of this movement, this reinvention of what it means to grow older. Not with regret, not with fear, but with the kind of hope that has no expiration date. So if you've ever wondered whether it's too late to start again, to chase a dream, or to become someone new, stay with me. You might just find that the best is not behind you. It's waiting, quietly, just ahead. For a long time, retirement carried a fixed image. It was the rocking chair on the porch, the endless rounds of golf, the quiet afternoons spent in familiar routines. It was the time when people were expected to slow down, step aside, and settle into the background of life. Work was done. Purpose was considered complete. The narrative was clear. Retirement was the closing act. But quietly, without much fanfare, a different story began unfolding. You don't see it on billboards. You don't hear much about it in the news. Yet if you pay attention, really pay attention, you'll notice a growing number of seniors doing something extraordinary, rejecting the outdated script and writing their own. They aren't loud about it. They don't necessarily call themselves trailblazers or rebels. In fact, many wouldn't describe what they're doing as revolutionary at all. They would simply tell you they're following the tug in their hearts that says, keep going. It starts small. A long-forgotten hobby resurrected. A curiosity pursued just for the joy of it. A class taken not for a degree or a promotion, but purely because the topic lights something up inside. And slowly, without big announcements or grand gestures, a reinvention begins to take shape. This silent revolution is not about making noise, it's about making meaning. It's about realizing that life after 60 isn't about decline, it's about design. Seniors are not just living longer, they're living deeper, wider, freer. Think about the man who spent 40 years in corporate finance and now spends his days crafting handmade furniture in a small workshop he built with his own hands. Or the woman who once taught high school literature and now travels the country giving talks on memoir writing. Or the couple who turned their love of gardening into a thriving community initiative, teaching kids how to grow their own food. These aren't anomalies, they're signals, proof that reinvention isn't a young person's game. It's a human one. If you peel back the layers, you'll see some common threads weaving through these stories of quiet transformation. First, there's the mindset shift. Retirement used to signal the end of a productive life. Now, for many, it's the beginning of the most authentic one, free from the pressures of raising children, climbing corporate ladders, or building financial security. Seniors are finally asking, what do I want to do with this time that's truly mine? Second, there's courage, not the kind that comes with fanfare and medals, but the quieter, more stubborn kind. The kind it takes to show up to a painting class where everyone else is 20 years younger. The kind it takes to start a business with no guarantee of success. The kind it takes to admit that you're a beginner, again, when society expects you to be settled. Third, there's the embrace of lifelong learning. Seniors are discovering that the mind doesn't have a shut-off valve. It thrives on curiosity, challenge, and creativity. Neuroscientists will tell you that the brain remains plastic, capable of growth, well into older age. And more seniors are proving that true by signing up for classes, learning languages, picking up instruments, diving into digital technology. But beyond mindset, courage, and learning, there's something even more powerful at work. Permission. Permission to dream, permission to try, permission to fail even. Because at this stage, failure isn't a threat. It's just another part of the journey. For so long, the narrative told seniors what they couldn't do. You're too old for that. It's not worth starting now. You should be winding down, not winding up. But the seniors quietly rewriting their lives have stopped listening to that voice. They've realized that if they're going to live the next 20, 30, even 40 years, they might as well live it on their terms. And those terms are beautifully varied. Some reinvent themselves by scaling down, leaving behind the noise of the city for a quiet cabin where they can finally write that novel. Some scale up, launching businesses, foundations, movements. Some go inward, deepening their spiritual practices, exploring the landscapes of their own hearts. Others go outward, traveling the world, mentoring the next generation, giving their time and talents to causes they care about. There's no one way to do it, and that's the point. Reinvention in retirement isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you already are. The parts that maybe got buried under the demands of work, family, and responsibility. It's about coming home to yourself, and it's happening everywhere. In coffee shops where retirees meet to plan community projects. In libraries where older adults are learning to code. In kitchens where lifelong cooks are experimenting with new cuisines. In dance studios, on hiking trails, behind cameras, in classrooms, on stages. Everywhere you look, if you look closely enough, you'll find the quiet revolutionaries of retirement at work. They aren't chasing youth. They aren't pretending to be 25 again. They are stepping boldly into the richness of who they are, and in doing so, they're reminding all of us, young and old alike, that reinvention isn't about fighting time. It's about embracing it. They're showing us that life doesn't have a pause button, only a reset one, and more they're choosing to press it. There's something quietly radical about starting over at a time when the world assumes you're winding down. It's easy to buy into the belief that there's a cutoff date for new beginnings, that if you haven't done it by 30, 40, or even 50, your chance has passed you by. But life doesn't work on a schedule, and neither does the human spirit. In fact, there's powerful evidence, both scientific and personal, that it's precisely later in life when many of us are best equipped to reinvent ourselves. Think about the long arc of a human life. When you're young, you're in a rush to establish yourself, to prove yourself, to secure your place in the world. There's an urgency, a feeling that every choice is final, every misstep fatal. But with age comes a kind of grace. A slowing down, yes, but not in the way people expect. It's a deeper kind of movement, a deliberate one. It's the ability to start again, not because you have to, but because you choose to. And choice, real, conscious choice, is one of the greatest freedoms life offers. There's a quiet power in no longer needing to impress anyone, no longer chasing after someone else's definition of success. The only question that matters now is, what do I still want to give to this life? Not what you're supposed to give, not what the world expects, what you want to give. It's this shift from expectation to intention that makes later life reinvention so extraordinary. But let's get practical for a moment. Beyond the poetic idea of second chances, there's a growing body of science that backs up what many seniors are discovering firsthand. The brain, the heart, and the spirit remain capable of profound growth well into older age. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, doesn't end at adulthood. Studies show that learning new skills, engaging in creative activities, and pursuing novel experiences keep the brain active, adaptable, and even youthful. Far from being fixed, the mind continues to evolve, especially when challenged in new and meaningful ways. And it's not just the mind that benefits. Purpose, psychologists have found, is a key ingredient in maintaining not just emotional health, but physical health as well. Seniors who engage in purposeful activities, whether it's starting a garden, writing a memoir, mentoring young people, or learning a new instrument, often report higher levels of happiness, lower levels of stress, and even increased longevity. But, science aside, the most compelling proof comes from the stories themselves. Take, for instance, the woman who spent her career as a school administrator and, after retiring at 65, decided to pursue her lifelong passion for art. Within 5 years, she was not only painting daily, but selling her work at local galleries and teaching art classes to fellow seniors, sparking creativity in people who thought their best days were behind them. Or the man who, after a decades-long career in engineering, started a blog about birdwatching, a quiet hobby he'd never had time for during his working years. What began as a personal project grew into a thriving online community, connecting thousands of enthusiasts around the world. Or the grandmother, who at 72, enrolled in an online business course and launched a small home-based bakery specializing in gluten-free treats. What she thought would be a modest side project blossomed into a full-fledged enterprise, run on her own terms, at her own pace. These are not isolated incidents. They're a pattern, a reminder that reinvention doesn't belong to the young. It belongs to the willing. It's not about starting from scratch. It's about building on a foundation of experience, wisdom, resilience. It's about taking the raw materials of a life already lived, the lessons, the skills, the passions quietly nurtured, and shaping them into something new, something vital. Starting again in later life also comes with a different kind of fear. Not the fear of failure we feel in our youth, but the fear of time itself. What if I don't have enough time? What if I can't finish what I start? But here's the thing. No one at any age is guaranteed time. What we are guaranteed in any given moment is the ability to choose. And choosing to start, at any age, is one of the most powerful declarations a person can make. It says, I'm not done yet. It says, there's still more life in me. It says I refuse to let fear or convention or the ticking clock tell me who I am. If anything, starting over later in life often comes with advantages younger people don't have. Perspective, patience, a deeper understanding of what matters and what doesn't. Seniors are often better equipped to navigate the inevitable setbacks because they know, intimately, that failure isn't fatal. It's just part of the process. And perhaps most importantly, they understand that reinvention isn't about chasing after something external. It's about answering something internal, a calling, a curiosity, a hunger for growth that refuses to be silenced by age. There's a reason many cultures honor their elders not just for their wisdom, but for their vitality. In societies that celebrate aging as a time of contribution, creativity, and leadership, Seniors are seen not as burdens but as assets. Their stories, their skills, their hard-earned insights are valued, and rightly so. But even in cultures where aging is viewed with less reverence, individuals are quietly proving that the later chapters of life can be the most powerful, the most creative, the most alive. The path to reinvention doesn't have to be grand or public. It can be private, quiet, deeply personal. It can be taking up a new hobby. It can be going back to school. It can be volunteering for a cause close to your heart. It can be finally writing that book you've carried inside you for decades. The scale doesn't matter. The action does. Because every small, act of reinvention sends a powerful message, not just to others but to yourself. I am still becoming. I am still alive in the deepest, truest sense of the word. So if you're standing at the edge of a dream, wondering if it's too late to leap, know this. The only expiration date on possibility is the one we believe in. And belief, like everything else, can be changed. Starting again isn't about recapturing youth, it's about honoring who you've become and daring to become even more. And the best time to begin? It's not 20 years ago. It's not next year. It's right now. If there's one truth that threads its way through all the stories, all the research, and all the quiet transformations we've explored, it's this. Life doesn't stop asking you to grow. Not at 60, not at 70, not ever. Somewhere along the way, many of us absorb the idea that life comes in stages, and that after a certain point, the most exciting ones are behind us. We learn to expect the early years to be about learning, the middle years about achieving, and the later years about retreating. But real life, real, vibrant, meaningful life, refuses to be boxed in by timelines. The seniors who are quietly reinventing themselves are living proof that the chapters we were taught to view as endings are actually beginnings in disguise. They show us that purpose isn't tied to youth, that dreams don't come with expiration dates, that the human spirit, that restless, seeking, untamable spirit, doesn't shrink with age. It deepens, it strengthens, it waits for us to pay attention. And when we do, when we answer that quiet nudge to try something new, to start again, to reimagine what's possible, we don't just extend our years, we expand them. It's not about chasing after lost time or pretending to be younger than we are. It's about stepping into a kind of wisdom and freedom that only age can bring. It's about letting go of the fear that held us back when we were younger, the fear of judgment, of failure, of not being enough, and embracing the beautiful, liberating truth that we have nothing left to prove. You don't have to climb mountains or launch companies or change the world to reinvent yourself. Reinvention can be as simple as choosing to wake up tomorrow and live with more intention, more curiosity, more joy. It can be taking one small step in the direction of a dream you've quietly nurtured for years. It can be forgiving yourself for not starting sooner and choosing to start now. The size of the change doesn't matter. The willingness to change does. Because reinvention isn't really about becoming someone new. It's about becoming more fully, more unapologetically, more joyfully yourself. So if you find yourself wondering, is it too late? Let this be your answer. No, it's not too late. It's never too late. Not for joy, not for learning, not for love, not for purpose. The clock isn't ticking down. It's ticking forward, urging you not to hurry but to move, to listen, to trust that the best parts of your story might still be unwritten. You have time. You have gifts. You have this moment, this breath, this day, this chance to begin again. And that, no matter your age, is a kind of miracle. So here's to the quiet revolutionaries. Here's to the late bloomers and the second starters. Here's to you, still becoming, still discovering, still alive with possibility. Your story isn't over. It's just getting interesting.